welcome onto the podcast, Ross.
Thanks
for coming on.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Did you want to do a quick intro just to say a little bit about you and what you do for the listeners?
Sure, absolutely. So my name is Rossco Dwyer. I run a content production house.
Nice. Good.
Called Do Good Studio. We're based in South Yarra in Melbourne. And been going for about 2 years on like the content side of things. But my background is in narrative filmmaking and also voiceover and acting.
I find it I've really had to struggle to not do too much research on you because I wanted to just naturally ask you all about what you do, because I find your skill sets and where you're at is so unique, because a lot of people go down the route of being, narrative and DP, and they get a little bit, if you don't mind me saying, a little bit of an ego to never come back. But you have so incredible skill sets that you've been able to utilize in not a backstep, but in a different level, I suppose. And you're crushing it. It is absolutely fantastic to see.
Oh, thanks, Ben.
So the way you storytell and the way you produce and everything is very unique.
Oh, that's cool. It is a weird thing where I think I learned that quite early on. I think it was actually the first sales call I did where I actually closed the client, and they were like, and then we were just having a conversation afterwards, and they're like, yeah, I think the reason I just went with you because you're a filmmaker, and I just realized you'd really understand story. And then I was like, oh, that's interesting. Maybe I could incorporate that into some of the stuff we do. And then the next call, the next person said the exact same thing. And it was like 2 weeks later. And they were the first 2 clients I closed. I don't think I closed another client for 2 months after that. But those 2 clients both said the exact same thing. And then I was like, maybe that is where our skills lie and what we were kind of bringing to the table. So yeah. And then I just kind of went, oh, let's lean into that and do that.
I think that's important to do. We've said before, on paper, our 2 businesses would look like they're really competing, but backgrounds wise and specialties, why clients kind of choose us is very different. I think that's kind of a cool thing for people to keep in mind with, if you're starting in any sort of, creative business, whether it's social media management or higher production, video, photography, you'll lean into what your strengths are and play on those rather than trying to play against everyone else, I suppose, because it's a hard game to play.
Yeah.
Doing all that.
It's like the age-old thing of if you really want to be unique, just be yourself. Don't look at that person and be like, wow, what they're doing is really cool, and then try and be that. Just do the thing that you do well. And then if it is authentic to you, then everyone will be like, wow, that's so unique. It's kind of cool and simple, but also probably the hardest thing to do.
Yeah, because, like you said, everyone says, you're the unique differentiator, no one can be you kind of thing. I feel like there needs to be a little bit more added to that so that doesn't just sound like a cliche thing. So I feel like that only you only truly get that after a couple of years in business, and you don't feel the scarcity stuff of I need to be everyone for everything to everyone. And then you kind of, voice acting is an interesting career path. How'd you get started in that?
From acting, that was kind of I went to drama school. That's where I met my wife as well. And then I was like, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I wanted to be a filmmaker when I was a kid, but then my drama teacher at school was like, go be an actor. So I was like, all right, sweet, I'll go be an actor. And then as I was doing that, people just kept saying, you should get into voiceover. It's really good for actors. So it's like a side hustle. And I was kind of like, cool. But I had no understanding of how you get into voiceover or really what it would consist of or anything like that. And yeah, then one day someone was just like, oh, well, you should just go to this place called Risk Sound in South Melbourne and go do your demo, and they'll make a demo for you. So I did that. And then that literally, they booked me for my first job after I did that demo, which was November for a UK campaign. And I was like, what? And I think they were like, it's a charity. So they want to know what rate you're willing to offer. And I was like, how much did the demo cost? And they were like, it was $800. And then I was like, cool, let's say $900. So I did that. And I was like, cool. And then I used that to go and reach out to an agency, and then kind of went down that path and got a voiceover agent. And then, yeah, that was kind of the
That's the
journey.
pathway.
Yeah.
I
still do it?
love that story.
Do you still do it?
Yeah. And actually, like, it goes in ebbs and flows. Like, I'll focus on the business because it's one of those things, like, you got to tend to it. And if I'm not like putting the time and effort into make sure my demo's up to date, make sure that I'm staying relevant, also staying relevant in my agents' minds as well, then it can just go so quiet. So it's kind of like you have to kind of keep your finger on the pulse, and then things keep popping up, and but it's like feast or famine, which was probably what led me to start building my own business and create something that was going to be a bit more sustainable as well, rather than just this kind of like go and sit in a cafe for 4 or 5 hours of a day reading a book and then be like, cool, I've got a 1 hour job and then I guess I don't have anything on for the rest of the week. It was bizarre.
It's a really, I can't imagine what that kind of, what that would be like, even coming into a studio and like, how do you even go about that? Like, you come in, they give you a script and you're supposed to like put on it. Like, do they coach in like how they want you to speak, or they just go, nah, this is your voice, so just do it?
Usually it depends on the brand and the person. I guess it's the same as like, you know, like any of the kind of like advertising stuff that we do, that they'll have a particular idea in mind, but they've found you, or so they've chosen you because of something that they've heard usually, or because they're like, you're the closest thing that we had to, you know, the sound in our head that we could find in Australia for a reasonable amount of money. So let's go with that. But they'll usually be like, hey, do this. And the jobs are so varied. Like, you'll do radio where you're in there for like 5 minutes, and then you literally rock up. They're like, oh, yeah, the script's are in the booth, and you go in, you might chat for a couple of minutes outside with the audio engineer and the producer, and then you go in, you literally read it once, and they're like, that was great. Can you just shave 1 second off that? And you read it again. They're like, awesome. And then, yeah. And then you'll go in and do a job, and they'll be like, no, we need the full hour. And you'll do it again and again and again and again and again. And things will change. And there's ad agency there and client there and all sorts of other stuff as well. So it's wild. But some of the biggest jobs sometimes are like the most bizarre or like simple jobs. And then sometimes some of the, smallest jobs are the ones that, I guess it's the same in anything that we do. They become the ones where it's kind of like again and again and again, and then it just becomes something completely different from what the original brief was.
That's so interesting. I love that story about how you very quickly leverage from the demo to Movember to, you know, and now like a voice agent to a successful career in that aspect. Because that was very much a topic of like recent episodes of, do you do the free work, or do you do the small things with a bit of a cut in the beginning to be able to leverage? And I think that's a really good showcase of how you've been able to achieve that.
I guess it is an interesting, because I'm always a proponent for like, if you're not good at something, or you don't know very well, but you want to get started in it, absolutely do free work and do as much of it until you're kind of like at a point where I was like, I could pretend that I'd be doing this for a while now and they wouldn't be any the wiser. But I think you've got to do it in the right way, maybe as well. Like, there's more to the story, which is probably even weirder or funnier than that, was that the guy who did my demo at Risk Sound, Liam, he was an audio engineer. And basically he knew I worked at this place in the city in Melbourne called Garden State Hotel. I worked in the restaurant there. And he was like, hey, RMK, this agency, they're having their Christmas party. I was like, yeah, no, I saw. And I was like, I've already told them, I was like, I really want to work that Christmas party. And they were like, yeah, sure, you can manage it. And I was like, sweet. And I was working and he was like, I'll introduce you to a couple of people. So he got there and he introduced me to a couple of people. And I think I actually applied to RMK the next week, and they were like, hey, our books are full at the moment, but get in contact later in the year and we'll see how we go. And I was like, no problem. But he introduced me to a guy there called Clark, who's another audio engineer at a different company. They do like sports content. And he was like, you watch football because you're from the UK? And I was like, yeah. I'm nice. And then he's like, and you've done lots of long form before? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, you know how to read to time code? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And then he was like, cool. And then he was like, sweet, well, why don't we get you in on Monday? You can come in and do an audition. And then, if it goes well, we'll lock you in for next. We're looking for a UK voice at the moment. And I was like, sweet, awesome. And then, I got a message early Monday morning. They're like, can you come in this afternoon, this time? And I was like, yep, sure, I'll be there, no problem. And I went in, and then literally I walked in the door and Clark was there, and he was like, hey, mate. And he was like, so he's like, you're with RMK, aren't you? And I was like, no. And he's like, what agency are you with? And I was like, oh, I'm not with an agency, I'm freelance. And then he was like, oh, why were you at the RMK Christmas party? And then I was like, oh no, I just work at the Garden State. I was a bartender. He's like, oh my God, I was so drunk I hired the bartender. And then, luckily it actually went okay. And I managed to kind of blag my way through it. And I still work at that company today.
That is
incredible for them every week.
You over the weekend, you were frantically looking up like how to time code and
how to say certain footballers' names, stuff like that. That's great.
That is funny.
So we've all done stuff like that. There's always been jobs where you rock up and like someone goes like, yeah, you know this about like, what this type of car looks like. Yeah, of course I know.
Yeah,
that one happened relatively recently. I couldn't even tell you the name of the car the guy asked me to think. It's like, yeah, but it was in between Lotus and Ferrari. I knew those two ones, so the other one in between, I was like, yeah, expensive car.
It's good.
It'll sound Italian, you know.
It goes to show though, like sometimes you just need to be open to like taking opportunities. I think like it's been a big learning in like our career and my career is, fuck, some of the things you just don't know where they lead. And you can't always be stringent on the fact of, that's just outside of what I'm willing to work inside of the budget. I think there's like, it's why we like to explore on this pod, like more of the intrapreneur rather than the entrepreneur. And how can you say yes to an opportunity inside someone's business where, yeah, you might take a pay cut, but if you perform and do really, really well, what do you, one, get to reward yourself with by producing them a really great outcome and a win-win scenario? What do you get to learn on the way? And what does that lead to and things like that? So
definitely. And I guess like if you can afford to as well, is probably another thing. Like there are certain jobs where I would be like, yep, definitely we could do that. But a lot of the time we're quite time poor. Like, because, like being business owners and then also, still working within the business as well. Like if I'm going on a job, it kind of needs to be worthwhile. As in I have to see the potential, exactly as you said, like there has to be that learning that I'm going to get from it. Or if I can see it going further, it is really a bit of a kind of like, we'll do you a solid, like we're going to prove that we can do this for you. And we'll do it either for free or for cheap or whatever it may be. But then really laying that boundary down up front and the expectation of like, but if we do continue going together, this isn't kind of the way it goes. Like this is a thing. I don't know. Do you guys know Chris Doe?
Yeah.
So like he kind of goes the opposite way. And sometimes I'm like, I probably should have done that in the past. I know situations where I should have done that in the past of being like, I won't discount the first one. But if we continue working together, that's when we'll look at, discounting things. But like, if you want to work with me, this is what it's going to be. And then kind of creating that thing. Because if they are, unless it's really something where you're striving for it because you want it, if they're coming to you and trying to bargain you down, it's so easy sometimes to just be like, it could be good for the cash flow to take this job, or it could be this. And then start that relationship. You started on this weird term where you've given them a discount and then they just kind of like assume, even if you've said like, but after that we'll go up, they're just kind of like, oh no, it's going to be the same price. And they're like, oh, well then actually no, we're not going to continue working with you or something like that. And you're like, man.
Yeah.
Too often.
Yeah, we talked about like free work on a few other episodes and stuff like that. And I've probably sit more on that side of things as well. I do think when you get started, you've got to charge what you're worth. And sometimes what you're worth isn't a whole lot when you're learning. So like, you got to be able to buy. I think it's hard for people to value something they didn't pay for. That's probably my thing. I've done the jobs where I have done a solid or done something for free, as sort of like we've even got one at the moment where they referred us someone else, they come on board and they've a bigger package. So it was kind of like, cool, referral fee, we'll do X amount of videos for you. But the buy-in from that person, because they're not paying for it, isn't as much as what you get from, other clients that are paying for it. So that's probably my biggest thing about it is like, I think like price is like such it's a weird energetic thing. It's not just like, oh, this is whatever I produce is what value they're going to see. It's almost like if I charge $100 or $1,000 for this, they're going to think $1,000 is going to be better even if it's exactly the same.
Yeah. And sometimes they'll, even if it's like they either undervalue it or they kind of disregard your, like the solid that you're doing them, and they will go the complete opposite way. It's like they never tend to, sometimes they don't just sit in the middle and go, thank you so much, I'm so grateful for that. Yeah, they're either like, whatever, it was free, or they're like, I need to get everything out of this opportunity because I'm paying little money and this is a great deal. So I've got to make the most of this because I'm not going to commit to doing this again.
Yeah, 100%. I think we've all seen the meme of like, $500 client versus like the $50,000 client. And it's like, it is fairly true, I suppose, because I think the people that are paying more money tend to just have more. It's not the be all end all if something goes wrong along the way.
And they're also like, they're at a different stage. Like they can afford, they've had mistakes. They understand delegation. They understand, they understand things take time. And like, if it doesn't work, you know what? That may be a 50 grand loss. Whereas the $500 person, they need this to work. This is their moment. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Massively. Like, it's an interesting thing, I guess, of like client accountability. Like, is that something, because, and Job, you were kind of talking about kind of coming from consulting to then going into this space of like, you tell someone what they need to do and then they won't go and do it. And then the frustration of that. But how do you find like managing client accountability on the content front? Because it's like, you can just post content and then go, oh, it didn't do well. And then, they kind of go, oh, well, it didn't do well. You didn't do your job right. If they're not putting any effort in around that or responding to comments or, kind of getting amongst it and interacting with the community and actually utilizing the platform. Like, how do you guys go about managing that side of things for clients?
Expectation setting is massive, I reckon. Particularly, I think from the sales call and onboarding are probably the two most important times. Any time that it has gone awry in that way, where you sort of do stuff for people and they sort of go, oh, it didn't work or whatever. Those ones tend to be people that like only gave it 30 days kind of thing. Like they were like, very, wanted to dip their toe in and like if it didn't work right away, they're out kind of thing. But every one of those scenarios, I've always come away from it going like, there's something that I didn't educate them early enough. And I feel like it's a hard thing to come back from as well. Because it's like, once it's happened, once they feel that way, it's hard to backtrack because then it feels like you're trying to like sell them a story as opposed to having prepared them and coached them for this scenario that is going to happen. So that's probably I'm big on that, and I still feel like there's stuff that I constantly learning. I go like, oh, that's another thing I've got to add into the like onboarding and education process. So, I don't think there's a way to like. I think all you can do is educate in that scenario.
I think you're bang on the money. For us, it's determining success. For the longest time, we didn't set that expectation. We didn't understand what success was to them. And as well, a thing that we learned from you was letting them know that like we're going to make mistakes, but you're choosing us because you trust us and also trust us to fix the mistakes. But we're like for a lot of our sort of stuff, we've moved away from just making great content to making content that supports your success. And a very basic model around how to achieve attention to success. And it's not overly complex. It's just like put great content online, make it very specific for an audience, stay consistent, and message everyone who follows you and build rapport and get them from your messages to some sort of nurture or to a phone call outside of Instagram as quickly, but also as intentionally as possible. Get attention, nurture it, convert it. So, but also staying away from the guarantee of we will get you results. So it's this weird dynamic of not promising guarantees and stuff, but also just educating people like you've got to be consistent.
Yeah.
Here's a way we can keep you consistent. Here's a way you in your own time that we will keep you accountable to, that you can convert the attention. So it's for us, that's how we hold them accountable.
It's funny how you can often it's almost like 80% of the time it feels like the same process of like, what would a win look like for you? Like, if this is actually going to pay off, what's it going to be? And then like, at least a growth of 10,000 followers.
Or you're like the other side where they don't know.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I don't know. I just know we need to be doing it. So
Yeah. Yeah, true. And it's just this it becomes aimless then, because they're just kind of like, well, it's not working. But you haven't, yeah, exactly. Because if you haven't defined what that is for them and what that success is going to look like, then they're like, it's not working. And it's like, well, what's not working? You're not getting viral videos. You don't want viral videos. Like, that's not going to help your business. Or like, you're not getting conversions and sales. Well, that's a different story. But like, that's not what you said, you're interested in, like taking that time to really dig that out from them in the early stages. And also like, if people, they're like, I want to become like the go-to in this space, and I want to be like have hundreds of thousands of followers and stuff like that, then I would almost say, like, to sometimes if I have that conversation with people, I'm like, don't use an agency then. I was like, this has to be something that you got, like, if you want that level, you got to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Either get so good that you're so successful at what you do that you've built that kind of notoriety around yourself, and then start making content, and that's when you can outsource it. Or like, if you're at this stage now and you're wanting to achieve that, you've got to do that yourself, because we're not going to be able to like do the type of testing we need to once every 3 months. I was like, you got to be doing that each week, looking at what's working and what's not. So it's, yeah, I find myself turning away a lot more people now because we've gone down that road before and just been like, there's things that are possible and there are things that are probably not possible from an agency standpoint.
It's a weird flip, isn't it? I mean, before we started recording, I briefly spoke to you about the model I used to do, which was event photography, portraits. It's very churn, always running for the next job, or who can give me these jobs all the time. And I feel like that is the journey of most freelancers, to go, oh, mum's got a friend, or my friend's got a friend with a business. I'll do one job for him, and then, oh, where's the next one? Where's the next one? And you ingrain in yourself that you need to say yes to every opportunity, and no matter the budget or no matter the expectations, you can always manage it and just make it work. But for us, like, this is the first time we've flipped the whole model on our head and gone, what are the key factors that determine someone that we actually will work with? And that, like, very stringent on, if you don't fit inside that, unfortunately, you're just not the right fit. And saying no to most people, but saying yes to a few. And it scared the living daylights out of me, because it's not the model we've always done, but it works so much better.
Yeah. Do you have any stuff like that? Is there anything that you're like, all right, this is like a red, maybe not even a red flag, but it's like, nah, like, that's, if I notice that early, I'm not working with them.
Yeah, if there's the kind of like, you got to prove yourself to us energy early on.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is not going to be a collaborative relationship, and that's what this needs to be. So I'm kind of, and I made that clear, and I'm just kind of like, the way we like to work is we like to work kind of like with clients. Like, we are here, like, we're the experts of what we do. You're the experts of what you do. We're here to help facilitate your expertise and kind of like bring it out to the world. But there is weight that you've got to pull at the same time. Like, and that's why I'm almost against calling it done for you now, because people are kind of like, yeah, because I want the done for you. I want you to do everything. Sometimes I feel like it's easier to just be like, it's done with you, because there's still a lot of work that you've got to do if you really want to get the most out of this and you want it to work and you want those kind of results. If you just want to show up on social media and you want that consistency and you want it to kind of like lead through, it will. That's fine. But if you're really going sky high with it, you need to pull your weight. Otherwise, it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
We've been using a few terms, but Eric's said it for ages that, like, we want to be an extension of your team and your business, which I really like. I also like the word, like, partnering with, like, we're going to become your partners in this, rather than, I use done for you as a term, but I know what you mean. I'm not working for you. Otherwise, pay me a salary. It's different. It does have to be collaborative and and working with, because they're even on jobs. I can't control how you come across on camera. Like, and I've had that before. I remember we did like a conference for this workshop that he did to like a larger audience, and there was something like he said, and he was just like, oh, I don't like how I look on this side, and sort of like my chin looks like this, and I said this, and it was all stuff that was like, that's how you look, and that's how, like, have I filmed it poorly? No. Like, we didn't edit it, so like that's what you said, and like it's a good clip. Yeah, I'm happy not to post it, but like, what are we, like, what went wrong kind of thing. So it's just funny what like some people kind of want you to fix stuff. It's like, I can't control that stuff. It just is what it is.
Yep. We now actually do shoot like 1 or 2 additional clips, like just as a backup, because you just never know if they're going to be like, don't like this video. And it's only happened to us maybe 2 or 3 times. Like, we've had clients where they're like, oh, I don't like the way I look, and but they acknowledge the fact that that's something that's going on for them, and you're like, cool. And then I know in that position, I'm like, look, it's not entirely my responsibility to be like, hey, it's going to be okay, but like, you got to do this. But like, sometimes they do just need that kind of like, hey, let's just do it. Let's put it out there. If you really hate it, after a few days, take it down. But I know that after it goes out there, they're going to, in that initial like moment, start getting messages from people saying, wow, this is so good. We love the look in your cut. And then it always happens that way. And then they're like, oh my God, look at all this wonderful feedback I'm getting. And it's like that thing of how they look goes out the window.
Yep.
But then we have had 1 or 2 clients who, and look, like, very successful client. He's like amazing in business, but yeah, just one of the first 3 sample videos that we sent, kind of like, hey, check out the style. He looked and he was like, yeah, awesome job in the editing. He's like, I look a bit old, and I don't really like the way I look in that. And he's like, scrap that video. And then I was like, but then we're not going to have 3 months gone. And I was like, I really hope this is not going to happen again, because we shot like 5 videos in this particular setting.
Yeah.
And the other ones he didn't mind, but it was just that one for some reason. He just didn't vibe it. It wasn't anything he said. It wasn't anything like that. It was just that. And he was just like, nah, don't like that. And I was kind of like, okay, all right, cool. And it's so hard that you got to like not let it be your thing.
Oh, take it personally.
Yeah, not take it personally.
Yeah,
just be like, oh. And then like you think about it and you're like, could I have chosen a better angle that would have been more flattering? Or could we have softened the light a little bit more maybe, because it was like outside and it was just bouncing off a building. We were like, oh, it looks really soft. It's really nice. Then I was like, maybe it could have been softer. Maybe it could be more directional. Maybe it could have been it. I mean, like, you can't do anything to fix it in that moment. So you just can't, all you can do is just like, yep, okay, cool. And hope that they kind of go, because it was my decision to get rid of it, I'm not going to hold you to it.
I think every creative can relate to that though. Like, the trying to get out of taking that stuff personally is hard, I reckon, because you will, like, everyone does, like, what we're trying to do, is match what someone has in their head to like what we can actually produce and what we think that they're trying to communicate, because everyone always has trouble, I feel like, getting that out of their head, even when they think they've communicated it really well. And yeah, it's tough. There might be nothing you've done wrong, but you just get that feeling, and they have some criticism on it. You're like, really hard not to like take that personally and sort of get a little bit like, am I a shit videographer, or like, am I crap at this? Yeah, it gets to you. So I don't know. I do think that's very relatable for a lot of like our listeners.
Absolutely.
Another like not success marker, another marker for us to go, is that the right client? We've found is a great one. Is just like, when the phone rings, are you picking up the call, or are you pushing that to later? Because if it's like that's a later conversation, and that's often, that's like, okay, that's not the right client.
That is a really good marker.
It's such a simple one, because like, there are people I know that I'm like, yeah, you're a later conversation, and they're not clients. They're lovely people, but they're just like, you're not now conversation.
Yeah, I almost had to stop. I've kind of made the decision the other day. I was like, I'm no longer giving my mobile number to clients. Like, I'll leave like these high levels. I'll like give them the high level number and contact them through that. But And I was getting text messages at like 5:45 in the morning. And I'm like, I get that you're a busy person and that's when you get up and do stuff. But like, if it's that, send me an email. Don't send me a text message.
Yep.
Like I can get back to an email and stuff like that. And there's things like they're not going to see you out of office when they message you at a weird time when something else is going on and you're not available, you're on a shoot or something like that. And I was like, you're just too much. I just felt like I was too much on speed dial. I was like, and probably because then I was looking at that and I was like, okay, maybe that's a boundary that I didn't make clear enough to just be like, hey, cool. And I think to that person, I actually just ended up saying, you can message me when you're like, sure, go for it, but I'm not going to respond until 9:00. Just hoping that then they'd be like, cool, you'll get back to me during business hours and stuff like that. But they still just did it, and I was whatever. That's the case. So now just leave it.
I've had that too. I'm still bringing across a number across to go high level as well. I think I had a client like 3 weeks ago ring me at like 7:00 on a Saturday, and I was like, yeah, not happening. That's ridiculous. So yeah, that one. And I did the same thing. I think it's important to do. Like when you're, if you're a freelancer or a business owner, or even if you're working underneath someone else, I think there's a lot of people that like take on a role and like want to do so well in that role. They take on a lot of extra stuff outside of hours, but you've got to, if you don't have those boundaries, fucking just, when you go to actually work, like already burnt out because you haven't really switched off stuff. Yeah.
The two simple things, two simple things you can implement straight away and just make your life so much easier as a freelance or even a business, right? Is everything you do is just like, how would I price it or write the brief or whatever? If it, obviously I have to give it off to someone else, right? We all know that, we're all business owners, but like that is a very easy one as a freelancer to go, don't think about you doing this. Think about, all right, you've got little Terry. Little Terry's going to do the shoot. Easy one. The other easy one is pretend you've got an assistant. And I love this, is go and create like Jennifer at your brand name. And it's just like, sorry, like you're going to have to speak to my assistant.
Yeah.
But you're Jennifer.
Did you see that guy, Ryan Magin? He's over in the States. He does a lot of like Grant Cardone's content and a few other people. Him and another guy, Jason Capital, apparently did that. They created a fake assistant and they both shared her as their like joint assistant kind of thing. And he was talking about how people would rock up to like, when they would see them, they go like, oh, how's Sophia doing? You know? And Sophia was this like old 50-year-old lady because it was like, it was meant to be like, who could get angry with Sophia? You know, she's this like older lady. She's like, her name's Sophia. She's so nice, gentle. Like that was the whole thing. And he was like, yeah, people would genuinely like ask us about how she was doing. You'd have to go like, yeah, she's awesome. She's great.
So good. There's the same thing for like, and there's things that you don't want to have to say to it. Like, you don't want to have to send constant invoice reminders or like send them an email that's like, hey, this is now like, 45 days overdue on a retainer thing. Like, this needs to be paid now. I don't want to have to be making that email all the time. I mean, if it's happening all the time, that's probably, that was the red flag that I missed a long time ago. But like having that kind of thing of like team at whatever, or just someone's name. And then, just being able to send that through. And just, I think also for the client, it just creates a nice level of separation and also kind of like a weird level of confidence for them as well, where they can then kind of be like, okay, cool. Like you guys really have it handled. And, there's always someone else I can go to. So like if I'm not getting back to something, then they can just go, just go to that person and that's fine. And it probably just puts their mind at ease in a weird way.
So there's almost like another level of like accountability as well. If like someone else on the team is reaching out about that stuff. Because I feel like if someone's talking directly to the business owner, it's always a little bit like, particularly if you've got a good relationship with them, which should make people better with paying. But like I know there are some people that like are just terrible for it. I feel like they always kind of think they can kind of like, yeah, no, it's all good. I'm going to get to it later. And you can't just expect you to kind of like push it off. But if you've got like, the pushy assistant kind of thing, or like your bookkeeper that's like following up every couple of days, definitely makes it a lot more like, all right, I've got to get onto it. I can't like push this down the road. These guys aren't going to like, let me pay in another 30 days kind of thing.
It does become a lot to manage though. I mean, Anyway,
Yeah,
for any clients listening, Jill is real.
I was about to ask if Jill was real.
Jill is a real person. Jill is a real person. Jill is 100% a real person, but it does become a lot to manage. No one's going to believe me now. Oh, well, shot myself in the foot. No, Jill is real. Jill is very much real. There's no way to prove it. There's no way to prove it.
Get Jill on the podcast.
Yeah. I'll phone her in right now. I'll phone her in. But it does become a lot to manage of a fake persona. Not that I would know, but I
She's fucking digging this out.
Make Jill an Instagram account, Facebook page, everything, like link up, Tinder profile.
Well, that's the joke. That was the joke with the example that I saw. That like they literally hired an actor. They did photo shoots. Like they brought her a part of the team. I was like, that's fucking genius. Not that we did that.
No, you can love to tell me.
Or you can just play into it a lot and just use like one of those really famous like stock footage people. You know, like the woman who's kind of like turning around and looking at her boyfriend. Who's like,
oh yeah.
Just use someone like that and just see if anyone, see if they buy into the fact that they're like, we love it. We'll love it. Just create that separation. Or just don't forget that your email signature, you're emailing off the wrong account or something like that. That's where I could see it going wrong.
I've got, I think I spoke about this on one pod. We've got a friend that has taken this to another level. So he's at one man show and he's like, oh, I just need to CC in Craig from engineering. And it's like, hold a minute. Craig will respond and go, we need to get that checked off by ops. So like, he's literally got a network and he's one man band because of the nature of what he does.
As in, he's on the phone. He goes, so let me just, I've got Craig here. Let me just get him to come in here, and what he puts on a different voice and something.
No, it's all email based. A large majority of what he does, it's not like Craig over there.
Imagine this guy fucking.
Yeah, she just does it. He's like, just change my little outfit so I can remember who I'm playing as well.
You'd be able to do it, the voice acting. You'd be fine.
But no, he literally has this network that he monitors, manages. But for what he does, it makes a lot of sense.
Gosh, that's great.
But it's a lot to manage.
Yeah.
Again, not that we'd know.
I guess one of the other things that like one of the markers for a client I'd love, or that I will always keep on, and the kind of ones that I would be like, we'll do anything and we will go over and above for you always, is they look for the reasons that it's working. And not that I'm saying like that it lets us off the hook or anything like that, but I'm like, when they have that mindset of then they're like, this good thing happened in my business and the change happened around this time when we started making content, it's probably because of that. Could be completely unrelated, but they look for those little reasons where they're like, that was really good. And then they share that feedback with you because they start, it's kind of like that thing of like, you know, where your attention goes, your energy will flow. But because they start leaning into that and then being like that, it kind of multiplies and it doubles on. And they're the clients who have like some of the best performing content for us, is because they have that mindset where they're like, you guys are awesome. We love what you do. We're going to leave this in your hands. Whatever you want to test, try, do whatever. They let us experiment. They let us do crazy shit. And then it actually, you get benefit from that rather than the like controlling and then going, hey, it didn't work. And then you go,
I think that's a good quality. Like that's a good trait of any sort of good manager or leader, right? And I think like that's just as important for like someone that's managing team as it is clients, as it is like people that you're paying for a service. Because like you said, when you've got clients like that, you do go above and beyond, you know, like like if you appreciate team members that don't grind them, make them hate coming to work, they don't just clock in, clock out, like they go above and beyond. So like it is funny, like the clients I know I've had for a while are like it as well. Yeah, they do. They look for the positives. They look at how to collaborate together, and they definitely get more of my time because I want to keep them, and like I want that not just out of like more than, you know, I do just someone just come off the street kind of thing and hired us for a very specific job. Because yeah, I've had the other side. I'm sure we've all had those clients where they just, their management style, if you want to call it that, is just like just crack the whip.
Yeah, but beat the donkey.
Yeah. And I refuse to work with that kind of person now. I had to call someone out on that in an email recently. Just the way that they were like replying to things was very like condescending kind of thing. Like, oh, well, I did mention this and da da da, and like little jabs, and it was very long email kind of thing. I just sent back a thing. It was purely based, and he actually came back very positive when I said like, hey, if we're going to collaborate more in the future, like this is going to have to be fixed. And we've been better ever since. But his big thing was like, yeah, I've just been burnt by so many other agencies or whatever that just don't like, when I give them this feedback, they just don't do it or they just kind of leave it. It's like, maybe they do that because you speak like that, it could be that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I call that stuff out real early now. Like I have to. Have you ever had like a bad experience like that?
Definitely. And definitely early on, I didn't really know how to deal with it. I just kind of be like, this is outrageous. And I kind of be like, oh God. But then leaning into it much more in the space of like, I guess as you grow older, you start to grow kind of just like more mature and a lot more like, I don't have to really deal with that anymore. Like, my wife and I recently, like, we went through some personal stuff. And like, yeah, like it was quite a full on time, like health wise. So then we were kind of like, all right, let's deal with this. Da, da, da. All of a sudden I kind of became a bit unavailable within the business, and as I had to be, and I kind of just, put on out of office, I let everyone know, let my team know. It was kind of like in a weird way, it was kind of like like the silver lining of it was that it really forced me to delegate a lot of stuff that I'd put off delegating. So I was like, oh, it's just easier, quicker if I do this thing. Da, 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 da. And I was kind of then getting stuck back into tasks that I didn't want to be doing. So then I literally just had to be like, take this. There was one client who came, like they messaged me about something, and then I was like, hey, just a heads up, this is what's going on at the moment. I didn't go into full detail, but I was like, I'm not going to be available. However, handing over to this person, there you go, there's all the info. And then they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like sending best wishes, everything. And I was like, great. I was like, that was really nice. 10 minutes later, they sent me revisions on a video via text. And I was like, what just happened? Like what? I just could not comprehend that. Maybe don't put this in the podcast, actually, because they're still a client. But I was flabbergasted at the fact that we'd had that conversation and then they were still able to do that. And then I was so angry that I was like, I'm just not going to deal with that now. So I just didn't respond, and I just left it and put it aside. But I think in the past, I probably would have just put it aside and then kind of forgotten about it, being like, oh, well. But then I actually had to go back and just say, hey, when I said that, that was kind of like let's put a pin in this at the moment. That wasn't essential. And like, I understand that maybe you just had something on your mind or something like that, but read the room. And maybe just know to give space in that way.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But I think if it hadn't been such a dire situation, that probably would have also been something where I would have just been like, well, 2 days later, I've kind of forgotten about it, and be like, and just have a little bit of resentment towards that person. But having that dialogue with them, they were then able to go, yep, so sorry. I just had it on my mind and I did just need to get it out because otherwise I thought I was going to forget it. But you're right. I should have just sent that across in something else. And they've been more respectful ever since then as well. And they actually have kind of outwardly spoken about, oh, maybe I'm taking up too much of your time from time to time. And I was like, oh, so wow, I just had to say something instead of harboring all this inside me.
Yeah.
I think that's such a good thing to do. Like it's really tough when you're getting started to add that confidence to say something like, because you think, oh my God, if I piss this person off, they're so going to leave. There's no way we could have a discussion that doesn't end in like, yes, sir. So you just, I don't know. I was definitely a yes man in my first year of business. But I feel like that's where you do create better clients as well. Like, not like that client, like no ill intent. And like, you could see that after their response as well. So you're like, oh, awesome. Like this just needed to be said. Probably didn't mean it this way. That's all good. This is just a new way we need to do things. And then they get it. And if they don't get it, then, that is what it is. And, might not work together. But, no, good on you for doing that.
Yeah. It's so easy. It's so funny how we just like prescribe stories to something and then create this whole world. And then if you don't do anything about it or you don't speak about it, it becomes something. And then you're like, 9 times out of 10, that was not what was going on, or that wasn't what you needed to, like, you just didn't deal with it in the right way. And I guess it's exactly what you were kind of saying before, is that like, ultimately it's always going to come back. Yeah, they can do something shit, but like it comes back to me and the boundaries that I've set up or the expectations that I've set up or like how I deal with the situation. There's always a better way. And then knowing that like, if it doesn't, then it's my job to kind of sever that connection and be like, hey, and even if that means like, hey, we're partway through this relationship or something like that. Have not done that yet. But, there are probably times where I should have been like, this isn't kind of working well. Let's sever this here. And maybe let's just kind of go our separate ways because I don't know if this relationship's really working. We committed to this. Happy to give you all of this. You do whatever you like with it. I'm going to charge you the rest of it, whatever it may be. And just kind of let people do that. Let people go on their own journey rather than just writing it out for the sake of writing it out.
And like, it's okay to fire clients.
Mm.
Like, it's okay to say, we're, like, exactly that. We're done. Oh, well, not we're done. We're done. We're done. Bye. No, like, yeah, this is not serving us anymore, and we've appreciated the time, but like, it's just we can't sustain it any longer or whatever. It's you don't hear anyone saying it in freelance. You think that every client must stay forever. You grow, and sometimes people don't grow with you, and that's okay. Like, you need to just work with a different caliber and a different group of people.
Yeah. Let's normalize firing clients.
Yeah. Sacking the list. No. This has been really enjoyable to chat to you. Like, what sort of things have you got that are exciting for you that are coming up sort of for 2025?
Cool. 2025. One of our films is screening at, I don't know, it's embargoed until December. When's this coming out?
This will be...
Oh, no, this will be like January, February.
Yeah, so what's exciting for you this year?
One of our films is screening at Flickerfest this year, which will be sweet. So we're going to Sydney to Bondi for that. And then that's kind of like a nice way to kickstart the year. And then we're launching a new offering, which is done with you.
Exciting.
We've kind of like test launched it already, and it's been good. The feedback's pretty good. I think it works quite well. But it is essentially, it's kind of funny because I got into this because I'm like, hey, got all these skills with filmmaking and stuff like that. It's removing us from the filming part of the process, and it's putting that onto clients. So instead of 3 months, we work with them for 1 month. We basically do the same process, but we send them scripts and we say, you film this content. We give them some video courses on how to do that. Potentially trialing the idea of like sending them a mini creator kit with like, and they just pay a deposit to get it. And then if after 3 months of working with us in that process, they want to send it back, we just refund them the deposit and then reuse that kit again.
Interesting.
Haven't quite worked that part of it out yet. And I don't know if that's too complicated for what we're trying to do. But that was one of the kind of things where people were like, but I don't really just want to film stuff on my phone and I want it to look nice and stuff like that.
It's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, it could be good if it works. But yeah, and then
there's a few people I know that have done like boxes like that you can send.
That was a great idea.
We're building one at the minute. It's fantastic. That way of thinking about doing it, fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's a really good model and it could work really well. So shout out to Andy in Queensland, who is another video like production agency owner. And he, kind of like fed me that idea around sending them a little kind of like content pack kit to get their journey going. But yeah, so that'd be cool. It'll be good. We remove ourselves from that shooting side of the process. But I also think what we were talking about earlier about like the accountability for a client, if they have to shoot the content themselves, the amount that they're going to learn about doing that is going to be good. I also think that maybe kind of some of the UGC style stuff actually does do quite well from time to time. We've done it with a few clients where we've just done off-the-cuff videos for them and they've sent them through and then they perform really well. And I'm like,
damn, we need to hear more of this.
It's funny like that because you go like, fuck yeah, we didn't use this, and it still did well. What the hell?
One of the other methods that I've seen with that works really, really well that might be good to throw in the mix is obviously like you can zoom into anyone and just be there over the whether it be you or a team or a network or whatever it may be, and then they just have the camera set up on the side. Yeah, it's literally what we're doing here, except instead of the face, it's just a screen.
Literally, And then you work. It's like working the exact same way, but we just don't have to travel. And then you can work with anyone, anywhere.
So
Riverside works well for that.
Riverside works really, really well. It's got good functionality, so you've got the footage straight away. But if you've already got a model where you're training them on certain things and they don't have video capture cards and stuff to be able to work them into Riverside, there's like good things like TeamViewer and PerSec that allow you to just remote control.
Yeah, that's where I thought the Osmo would be a good option because you can just USB-C that into your computer and it'll work as a webcam as a backup. But then the flip side of that is that they can also just take it out and about with them. And if you're like, hey, go get some content of you doing this and doing this and doing this, and they can kind of, you just set all the settings up and be like, don't change anything. I think it's...
Yeah.
The Osmos are great. You guys have been playing around with them a lot.
Oh, the Osmo is fantastic. Yeah. Sometimes, like, I love taking my R5 places and shooting. Like, I love that camera. But sometimes people get very anxious around it. So the Osmo is great where you can just clip it here sometimes and just do an interview and they forget that that's even there.
Yeah.
And the content that you'll get, yes, you might compromise in quality and pixel sensor size, but at what cost? At the benefit of like a great interview.
Yeah.
So
versus having a fucking rigged out. Like when we put everything on the C70, you're like, oh God, what happened? It's this monstrosity. No wonder they're nervous in front of the camera.
Yeah. I bet. Do you love like the finickiness of gear and tinkering to make your setup awesome?
Yes, I would say James, my DP / business partner / ops manager, he will go to the nth degree because he's a camera assistant.
Yeah.
He like went through that path of kind of like, he was like, yep, going to be a cinematographer, went through kind of like camera assistant route and then kind of like started getting his own gear and stuff like that. So it's like his cable management is incredible. My cable management is, if I've rigged the camera, there's things flying everywhere.
As you
done, it's like,
our cable management is fantastic. We'll go with that. It's great. I love the tinkering without, like, once it's right, I'm like, great. I'm not going to unbuild it now and make it more clean, as you can see. But no, I love like figuring out new ways to do things or like just small rig mounts where you're like, oh, that allows me to let's do this crazy new thing.
Oh, they're so good. That was the big thing was I think flipping, and that also is from Andy up in Gold Coast, was just using the quick release plates for the C70 so you can go from vertical to horizontal because we're using like a base plate because we'll either go like easy rig or tripod when we're shooting. But that was just so handy of not having to take off batteries and readjust everything and then kind of like remount on the side. It was just like you just bang, 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 bang. And you don't really have to change anything else apart from the top handle from side to side. So that was good.
Oh, a great one for lighting. I imagine you're taking lighting a lot of places you go. And sometimes you're in like commercial spaces. Have you seen the mounts that you can get that clip into the roofs? You know the white roofing that works on the grid pattern with the panels that pop in and out.
Yeah.
There's a clamp mount that literally just twists onto those rails. That's made perfectly for commercial, like those rails, and it's got a payload to carry something like this. You literally just stand on a chair, and you've got a C stand that clips straight into a ceiling.
Get out of town.
Yeah.
And like all the ceiling sports, are you talking about those like little kind of like things in the roof you can push one up and slide it across?
Yeah, where they hide the bombs in the movies.
Yeah. So yeah, and you can just clip onto one of those and it'll support you. Yeah, because like we'll do that with like maybe I only have the nanolite ones for the Parvo tubes. So if we're like, oh, we can just rig a Parvo tube up, but being able to rig a light in the ceiling would be ace.
How good's that? No SD stand. You know, it's not in any of your shots. The best.
You could literally just be like, just keep using these angles. You wouldn't even need that. Would be amazing.
No,
there you go.
I got the semi in it. Yeah.
But no, I love tinkering. I love tinkering, finding new ways to do things.
This room has already changed so much this year. I remember like when I first came in here, when Ben showed me it was like a stand-up desk.
Yep.
Here, a really long one, like one chair here, one camera in the front, and now it's really turned into like we call that the Jamie seat, like the Joe Rogan podcast. So you could have someone over there. If we ever have clients in here, it's very much go sit over there and be the Jamie. get stuff up on the computer if it needs to go up. Like, there's
I'll
always something
actually-
new coming in here.
I'll actually show you because I was wondering the other day why there's not enough
something new?
space.
Yeah.
Why there's not enough space on the computer.
Yeah.
And in the early days, it was recording duplicates to a local drive hidden in documents.
Oh.
So there's a clip of you and I in the early days being like, oh, like we can sit here and you can sit there. And then like we can, and it's us acting like idiots. But it's in like the early days of
It's a bit cringe, is it?
It's very cringe.
That's a good question, actually. Any exciting things for you guys for 2025? Any exciting things for the podcast?
I think for the podcast is trying to bring on like more people like yourself and collaborate with more people that have been through it, I suppose. So obviously this is for like other creatives and to sort of, I suppose, help people through those initial first year or first couple of years, because so many people, I feel like, drop out in that phase. So yeah, I think we'll probably try to get this on the road as well.
Yep.
We would love to be able to like have a really cool setup to go like, if there's someone in Queensland that's like, they're going to be an epic guest. Let's
Oh, man.
figure out how we can get out there, you know, like.
There's like 10 of them up there. They're all up there. Like, it's really funny. We have this little accountability club. We catch up every Monday morning on Zoom, and it's basically kind of like it did just become like social catch ups for a good while, and now it's getting back on track.
No.
Like, all right, let's really start putting pressure on each
Remote,
other.
and most of them in Queensland.
There are 4 of them in Queensland, 3 of them in Gold Coast, 1 in Brisbane, and then there's me in Melbourne, and there's another guy in Melbourne as well, Ed. Yeah, you guys should speak to Ed. Ed's great.
Yeah,
He
Always.
does what we
always
do, content,
to
but
connect.
just for tradies.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, awesome.
it's a great little niche.
We're always happy to speak to more people in the space, because I think everyone's going to go into different industries, so sort of got to have a fairly, we want to interview people that are doing shit that we're not doing, so that would be awesome.
Let's do it.
I'm excited. I'm excited for 2025. Like our whole model has always been to support creatives, because like our full timer that we have, he nearly canned the creative like industry altogether. No one will give him an opportunity, and he is the most talented creative I've ever met. That's why I hired him, because he's fantastic. But he's ready to throw the industry out altogether, and we've been very thankful that we've grown tremendously in the last 6 months. When you listen to this, the last 12 months, whatever it is. The future, anyway. We've grown quite considerably. His name is Jill. Jill
It's
exists.
actually Ben when he goes upstairs.
But yeah, we've grown quite considerably, and I'm very thankful for that. So we'll do a lot of growth next year, and I'm really excited to be able to support more creatives and find more of those people that are almost ready to throw it all out and go like, I've got you. Like, I'll give you enough so you've got a week's worth of work, and the rest of your week, like 3 weeks of a month, go and be creative. Go and push the boundaries. Go and do whatever is your heart's desire. We've got you in this space. Just stay consistent for us. We'll stay consistent for you, and just go and do the stuff you want to go and do. So that's exciting. What I'm excited about next year. Like, there is so many people that are just incredible. So
That's ace.
and hopefully you get a few of them on the pod.
That would be cool. I think we were talking not that long ago about having someone that would like try and do some other behind the scenes sort of stuff, and almost running like doing certain challenges and stuff. One of the things was whether or not we could bring in like someone that's like really fresh creative that's learning, and give them like all the gear, like, and make sure they know how to use it, but obviously not like a years and years of experience, and then go with like one of us or Eric to film the same thing, same brief with an iPhone, and see like who can produce what kind of thing, kind of challenge gear versus experience. So yeah, we've got a few little ideas and stuff we just want to play with and have fun with.
That's dope. Love little challenges as well. It's a good idea.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see.
Where can people find you?
You find me on Instagram under @Rossco Dwyer and @DoGoodStudio. I don't think I use Facebook really that much anymore. I don't think anyone does. Do Good Studio on TikTok, but also just follow us on Instagram. It's probably the place to be. Yeah.
Sweet.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for coming on, Ross. It was a pleasure to meet you in person as well. I've been seeing your content for ages, so yeah, it's great to finally connect.
Nice. Likewise, guys. This has been dope. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.